Hi fam, my name is Michelle Honora and I want to thank you for joining me in this masterclass of how I wrote a bestseller in 2 weeks without an agent, a publisher, or a ghostwriter. Just wanted to say a quick hi. Most of this training is actually going to be focused on the slide deck because, as you can see, my webcam isn't the best quality. But I just wanted to say a quick hi so that you know there's a real person, real voice behind the training. And yeah, without further ado, let's jump in. All right, friends, welcome to How I Wrote a Bestseller in 2 weeks without an agent, publisher, or ghostwriter. I'm going to teach you the 3 keys that made it repeatable and how you can do it too. Now, listen, if you have ever dreamed of writing a book but felt stuck, overwhelmed, unsure of where to start, you are in the right place. I want you to grab a notebook if you want to. You don't have to take notes right now, but stay with me to the end because I'm going to show you the exact framework that's helped me and my clients go from having an idea to a published book in record time. First of all, congratulations for joining me here because you've taken the step to invest in your writer journey. Now, you're obviously here because you have dreamed of writing a book, but I want you to ask yourself, what is it that has kept me stuck? What is it that has kept me overwhelmed? What is it that maybe kept me from starting, right? Maybe you're just looking at a blank screen, a blank Word document and wondering, I don't know, I'm going to write this whole book. I have this dream to have a finished product in my hands, but I don't know how to do it. I don't know where to start. Well, you're in the right place. Like I said earlier, we're going to take you from idea to a book. I'm going to show you the exact framework that has helped me and my clients take the idea, put it into a manuscript, and then publish it and market it so that it became a bestseller. Something else I want to make note of is that I did all of this without gatekeepers. Sometimes we think, oh, I want to write a book, but I don't have an agent, or I don't have a publisher, or I'm not a good writer. I need to hire somebody to do this for me. Or even if I write the book, how is it actually going to sell? I probably need to hire a publicist or something. Nope. You don't need any of that. It is absolutely possible for you to write, publish, and market your book without any sort of gatekeeper and be able to call yourself a best-selling author. So you're in the right place. If you have dreamed of starting to write a book, but you're actually not sure where to start in the process, you're in the right place. If you want your book to build credibility, grow your brand, open doors to speaking and media opportunities, you're in the right place. If you are ready to stop guessing between the different publishing paths that you heard of and actually choose the one that's right for you. And you're absolutely in the right place if you want a proven system to get your book written, published, and earning fast. Now, something I want to tell you, it is not your fault that you haven't finished your book, okay? If you're beating yourself up because we're towards the end of the year or, we're knee deep into the year and you haven't finished your book, that book that you've been telling yourself you're going to write for years and years and years, don't beat yourself up. It's actually not your fault that you haven't finished it. Let me tell you why. You've probably been told that books come from lightning bolt inspiration, right? You get a really powerful idea and the spirit moves you and you start writing, and before you know it, you have a finished manuscript in your hand and you edit and refine it until it's gold. Or maybe you've been told something else. Maybe you've been told you need to labor for years and years and years to birth a book that is actually worth reading. Both of those are incorrect, okay? Books don't come from lightning bolt inspiration most times, and they also don't come from spending years and years and years and years and years wasting time belaboring over a single manuscript. They are actually born from consistency. They're actually born from consistency. Because once you know how to create the environment that invites inspiration instead of waiting for it, you will never get stuck again. What if I told you that writing your book could actually be accomplished by following a simple system? I want you to imagine holding your finished book in your hands 90 days from now. You heard me right. And as little as 90 days from now, even less time, by the way, It's up to you. You could hold the book that builds credibility, attracts clients, and opens doors to various media and speaking opportunities. Now, why should you take my word for it? Well, really quickly, because this is not about me, this is actually about you, but just to show you that I do have credibility. My name is Michelle Honora. I'm an 8-time best-selling author. I've written 5 novels and 3 nonfiction titles. I have experience with hybrid self-publishing and traditional publishing. So these are the 3 forms of publishing that are out there. And I've written a best-selling book in 2 weeks, not once, not twice, but 3 times. So I'm here to tell you that if I can do it, you can do it. Here are the titles, just so you know I'm not making stuff up. My debut novel was Type N. I wrote that when I was 22 years old, fresh out of college. And I have gone on to write a total of 8 books. As you can see, the first few are novels, and then the last 3, the latest 3, have been nonfiction. And all of these books are still making me money in my sleep. All of these books, every single month, I receive a royalty check from the money that I make from writing books. Some of these books I wrote over 10 years ago. There's one particular book in this group, Atlas Died, that I have a pretty fascinating story with. So in the summer of 2015, I was working on my 5th book. I had written 4 before, and I actually decided to challenge myself. And I asked God to give me a book release date. And he gave me a date that I did not expect, that would require the book to be done in exactly 4 weeks from the time that I asked him for the release date. And when I looked back at what I needed to do in order to get the book released, because it's not just a matter of writing the book, you also have to have the cover, you have to have the interior, you have to have it edited, all that stuff. I realized that my time for writing it would only be 2 weeks. I realized that I would have to put all of my focus, attention, consistency, and discipline into writing the manuscript in 2 weeks if I wanted to meet that book deadline. Now, there was nobody holding a gun to my head to say, hey, you absolutely have to do this. I mean, I asked for the release date and in prayer, and that's the date that I got. But I could have said no. I could have said, absolutely not. That's not going to work. Let's give it a couple more months. But I decided to stretch myself because I really wanted to see at that point, is it possible? Is it possible for me to write a book that quickly? The answer is yes. I got the book done in 2 weeks. The manuscript was complete. I released it on the deadline that I felt God giving me, and that book became a bestseller. Here's what that moment taught me. It taught me that writing isn't about inspiration. It's actually about structure. Okay? So I'm going to teach you the 3 keys that made it possible for me to write that bestseller in 2 weeks and how you can do it too. So in this training, we're going to talk about how to master your personal writing process so that you can write with focus and consistency, not just inspiration. We're going to talk about how to set a clear deadline and reverse engineer your writing plan to finish your book faster than you thought possible. And finally, we're going to talk about how to choose the right publishing path so that you can position your book for long-term credibility, income, and impact. So let's jump in. The first key is mastering your writing process. Don't wait for inspiration. Create the environment that invites it. So every single writer has a writing process. My process, just to break it down in a nutshell, is to come up with a concept, noodle with it in my head for a little bit. Once I decide that I want to write that book and commit it to a book, I then take my legal pad and I do a rough outline. After I do a rough outline, I type out the outline on my computer. And once I have the outline written and typed, I print it out and I work off of that document alone. Then I go into my writing software and I set a deadline for myself and I write every single day until the book is done. That's my writing process. Um, it is important though, and I should note that you need to create the environment to write. So for me, I actually learned in this process of writing that book in 2 weeks that I needed it to feel like early morning at all times. I know that's going to sound weird, but to that point, my writing process had been to wake up extremely early. I wanted to wake up before everybody else in the house. So I often would wake up at 2 or 3 in the morning. I'm not saying you have to do this. I'm just giving you an insider look into what that looked like for me. So I would wake up at 2 or 3 in the morning and have my lamp on and I would write and get into a flow. And when I decided that I needed to push myself to get this book done in 2 weeks, I actually put up blackout curtains over my windows because I didn't want the daylight to creep in and make me feel like I wasn't in early morning writing mode. So that's just one example of setting the environment. For other writers, it's having music playing in the background. For some writers, it's having, an incense machine burning, right? So the scent is what they need it to be. Whatever it looks like to make the words flow for you, set the environment so that your mind is in a space where it's easy for the words to flow. And then I showed up every single day. Actually, that's not true. I gave myself one day of a break of rest in order to kind of regroup, but 6 days a week, I was writing. And that is how I got it done in 2 weeks. I collapsed time by mastering my writing process so that I could accelerate myself and knock the book out. You don't need motivation. You don't need sudden inspiration. You need a rhythm. Remember, books are not born from creativity, at least not creativity alone. They're born from consistency. Now, the other key to me writing this book and getting it done was by setting a deadline and working backwards. So we already talked about the fact that I was in prayer. I asked for a timeline, a release date for the book, and God gave me a ridiculous one. And so I stepped up to the challenge and I took a look at that deadline and worked backwards from it because deadlines create decisions. So once I had the deadline, I knew, okay, I actually just need to reverse engineer this. So take a look at this graphic right here. This is actually the roadmap, the general roadmap that I use when I am self-publishing. And just FYI here, you actually don't have to spend thousands of dollars on a hybrid publisher. You could totally self-publish a quality book of your own, on your own, for around $800. But anyway, the roadmap for me writing the book was to write the book, edit it, have a beta reader give me feedback, polish the book, hire designers for the interior and the exterior, load it into the right publishing process, and then market and release it. So I went off of the release date and then I worked my way back, right? So I considered how long it would take me to load it into KDP. I considered how long it would take an editor to edit the book and give me feedback. I considered how long it would take for a designer, a cover designer, to put the cover together. And I considered how long it would take for me to get some general feedback from a couple of beta readers. And when I took all of that into consideration, I was able to arrive at a date by which I needed to have the book, the manuscript, done. So I determined, okay, this is my deadline to finish the manuscript on my end so that I can then put it into this publishing machine process and actually have the book released by the release date that God gave me. So that was my process. And I strongly encourage you to do it. I actually call this the countdown commitment, right? You pick your date. When you want to release the book, you plan your timeline according to your publishing process. You execute your process by showing up and writing it, and then you actually release it to the world. Now, the third key to me publishing my book, writing a best-selling book in 2 weeks, was to know my publishing path before I wrote the book. Now, I've been throwing a few terms around here, hybrid, self-publishing, traditional publishing. Let me break it down for you a little bit. Self-publishing is essentially writing your book yourself, publishing it on your own by using an on-demand print service and releasing it completely independent of a publisher. Traditional publishing is what a lot of people have been familiar with for many, many years. But to be honest, the very, very first publishers in history, they were all self-publishers, right? Benjamin Franklin, he actually had his own printing press. And so he would publish and release his own almanacs. So self-publishing is actually not a new creation, but for a number of years in recent history, traditional publishing has been seen as the way to go when releasing a book. That is all changing. That has all changed, especially since the print-on-demand era. But traditional publishing is where you go through an agent, you send a query letter, you submit for an agent's consideration. If they choose to represent you, they will then shop your book around to different traditional publishers who, that's what they do day in and day out, is they publish books. Traditional publishing is a process. Just to give you a heads up, traditional publishing usually takes about 2 years, 2.5 years to get accomplished. Whereas you could be a rebel like me and self-publish independently and get your book out in the market in just a few weeks. Excuse me. And then the hybrid option, that little part right in the middle of the Venn diagram, hybrid publishing is kind of an in-between. It's where you hire a publishing service, a vanity press, if you will, to take care of the publishing process for you. So you're not finding the interior designer yourself. You're not finding the editors yourself. You're not finding any of that material. You're hiring a service that will do all of that for you. And honestly, it is the most expensive route but of the publishing processes. I have heard of people spending $15,000, $20,000, $25,000 on a hybrid publisher. Now, if you have money to do that, and that's the direction you want to move in, more power to you. But honestly, I don't think that that's necessary. So when you know how your book is going to be published, every decision gets easier. That's why I'm even mentioning your publishing process, because when you know what your publishing process is, first of all, you'll know if you even need to write the book up front. Yeah. So if you're writing a nonfiction book, for those of you who maybe have a method or a coaching training or something that you're wanting to write a book for that's nonfiction, if you choose to go the traditional route, you actually don't even need to write the book before you try to get the publisher, because they are going to be looking at a book proposal instead of a finished manuscript. That's not the case if you are writing a novel. If you're writing a novel and you're wanting it to be published traditionally, you do have to have the novel written already, and you have to shop the novel to an agent. So these are the little nuances that people just don't know about, right? You don't know what you don't know. But it is important for you to know how you want the book to be published, because if you decide, actually, no, I want to publish this independently and I don't want to wait for a bunch of gatekeepers to approve my book, then yeah, you need to write the book. You need to determine, how long is the book going to be? Is it going to be a full length 6 by 9, 150 page read, or is it going to be a tiny book where maybe it's 5 by 8 and it's only 75 pages, right? And it's a short, condensed volume of information that establishes my credibility without me spending eons and eons of time writing a huge book. And honestly, just insider's tip, this is for free. Tiny books are where it's at these days. There is a huge trend of tiny books selling really, really well. Why? Because people don't have the time or the attention span that they used to read full length, heavy duty books. A lot of times people just want the information. Shoot it, give it to me straight. Don't give me a bunch of fluff just to fill out the book. Tiny books can be super, super effective for branding purposes. And then the publishing path helps determine your release goals, right? Why are you wanting to publish the book to begin with? If you are using a traditional publisher, maybe you're wanting to release it that way because you're hoping to get more traditional media exposure. Maybe if you decide to publish independently, it doesn't actually matter to you whether you have traditional media attention because you are going to be on podcasts or you're going to be on independent media or you have a speaking business and you want to have back of the room sales for your book. It is important for you to determine your publishing path in advance because that is actually going to determine whether you write the book or wait to do a book proposal, whether you market the book a certain way. And then it also is going to determine your marketing plan, right? Traditional publishers oftentimes expect you to have a very comprehensive marketing plan, but they also have marketing channels of their own. Independent authors, they have to determine how they want to market and the path that they want to choose for that. And then hybrid publishing services, some of them have marketing initiatives, but they can be limited. So these are all things to consider when you're writing your book. Now let's recap and put this all together, okay? In order for you to finish your book faster, publish smarter, and build a lasting impact, you want to first master your writing process. 2, set a deadline and work backwards from it. And 3, know your publishing path before you write the book. My goal in this masterclass was to show you my exact process for writing my bestseller in 2 weeks and to give you the same 3 steps so that you can start implementing this right now if you wanted to. That said, if you're anything like most aspiring writers and authors, at this point, you might be wondering a couple things like, what software should I use to actually write my book? How do I find the right editors, designers, or contractors to put it all together? What's the best publishing route for me? I broke down the different publishing routes, but how do I know the best one for me? And once the book is done, how do I actually market it so that people buy it? These are all great questions, and honestly, they're the exact ones that probably keep most people from finishing their book. Because without a clear framework, it's very easy to waste months or thousands of dollars trying to piece it all together through trial and error. But what if I told you that there was a way to write, publish, and market your book for under $1,000? I kind of hinted at it a little bit earlier when I said, hey, you could actually get all of this done for about $800. The truth is, you don't need to spend $10,000 on a ghostwriter. And trust me, that is what you would spend because I've actually charged people for that in the past. You don't need to spend $7,000 on a hybrid publisher. And you don't need to spend $20,000 on a certain self-publishing school. I would also say you don't need to spend thousands and thousands of dollars on a writing coach or a book coach. People who have an investment mentality, love them, but sometimes they spend way more money than is actually necessary to just get the project done. What you need is a proven system that does all of the heavy lifting for you. And that's exactly why I created the Book Launch Bootcamp. The Book Launch Bootcamp is my 90-day system for writing, publishing, and marketing your book without a big audience, without tech overwhelm, without wasting tons and tons of money on useless vanity services. This is my complete system for writing, publishing, and marketing your book in 90 days or less. Let's take a look at the 3 phases of this program. So phase 1 is write, phase 2, publish, phase 3, market. Boom, bada boom. I want you to think of this program as your end-to-end roadmap from a blank page to a book launch. This is designed specifically for busy entrepreneurs, coaches, creatives, or professionals who want to write their book, who want to get it done once get it done right, and have a repeatable process if they choose to write any future books as well. So let's take a look on the inside. Phase 1 is called Write Your Book, right? Super inventive title, but I want this to be straightforward for you. So you're going to learn my full writing process. You're going to learn exactly how I organize my ideas, how I structure my chapters, and how to finish your draft fast. You're also going to learn the writing tools and softwares that I recommend using when you are writing your book in order to make the process a lot easier. Here's the thing. A lot of people will write their books in such a way that they think, oh, this is how I'm supposed to do it. But everybody's has a different way of thinking and organizing their thoughts. So we're going to talk about the best way to figure out how you write so that you can write in an accelerated way. It's the same structure that I've used to become an 8-time bestselling author. Phase 2 is publish your book. So I'm going to show you my complete A to Z roadmap for professional self-publishing. I'm going to talk to you about formatting, cover design, ISBNs, distribution channels, and the ones that I use and why I use them, right? So sometimes we run into this issue of, oh my God, I have so many different options and I don't know which one to choose. I'm going to help you get rid of that decision fatigue and show you why I chose the specific process that I chose so that it's easier for you to make that determination. No one's going to be forcing you to pick one way or the other, but you're going to have all the information that you need to make an informed choice and continue to move forward because done is better than perfect. I'm also going to show you my traditional publishing shortcut guide so that you know exactly what to do if you want to go the traditional route. And phase 3 is market your book. So you're going to learn how to launch and position your book so that it builds long-term visibility, income, and credibility. Remember I said earlier that I'm still making money from books that I wrote over 10 years ago? I'm going to teach you how to market your book so that it has a place in the market that makes you perpetual income. This phase alone is going to pay for your course many times over. But wait, there's even more. Because I want to make this as easy and streamlined as a process for you, I am providing these bonus resources to help you launch your book. The first bonus is the AI Writing Schedule Accelerator. So I'm going to teach you how to use AI to create your writing plan based on your real life, your schedule, your habits, your preferred pace, so that you can be consistent in showing up to write your book and actually get it done. Bonus number 2 is how to turn your book into a speaking asset. This is a mini training where I teach you how I have leveraged my books to land paid speaking engagements, podcast interviews, brand opportunities, and actually how I've used it to grow my revenue with each speaking gig. And then bonus number 3 is the traditional publishing shortcut guide. So this shortcut guide is a streamlined roadmap for authors who want to go the traditional route of publishing. There's no right or wrong in terms of how you publish. I'm going to show you my process and why I chose the path that I chose. But if you want to go the traditional route, I'm going to give you the tools on how to do that as well. But wait, there's even more. Audiobooks are where it's at. So I'm going to give you a limited time bonus. If you enroll in this program, I'm going to teach you Audiobooks 101, how to turn your book into an audiobook that amplifies your message, multiplies your impact without having any major gatekeepers as well, right? So if you look on Amazon, the best selling books, the ones that sell the absolute best are the ones that have the book in print, in Kindle, and on Audible. The more formats you have for people to purchase your book, the better your sales will be. So you're going to learn about the tools, the tech tips, and the publishing know-how to make your book available on Audible. Now, before we jump into the investment piece, I want you to examine what's inside, and let's put all of this together because I know I'm throwing a lot at you all at once. But let's take a look at the value of what I'm teaching you here. Here's a breakdown. The book launch bootcamp course itself is worth $6,000. In fact, I've charged private clients $6,000 for my book coaching services. The bonus resources are worth $2,750. And then the audio bonus, which is a limited time bonus, is worth $750. So this entire book launch bootcamp system is worth over $9,500. But you're not going to pay $9,500 because the standard enrollment price for the book launch bootcamp is just $19.97. But you know what? I wanted to make this a no-brainer for you. So if you invest right now, I'm going to give you a very special, very limited time offer. See, instead of paying $19.97, which is already a fraction of what the entire system is worth, you could get started for just $4.97. This is a limited time price, $4.97, or 2 payments of $275. Like I said, I wanted this to be a no-brainer for you. And honestly, I wanted this to be super accessible because I would be a hypocrite if I told you, hey, you can actually write, publish, market your book for less than $1,000, and then I'm charging you thousands and thousands of dollars to learn how to do it. That doesn't sit well with me. So I wanted to make this extremely affordable and accessible for you because I really do believe in you getting your book out into the world and doing it in a way that doesn't break the bank. It should not cost thousands of dollars to successfully launch a book. It doesn't have to. Now, some of you may be thinking, oh my God, this sounds amazing. This is really, really cool. But I have a couple of questions. So let's answer them. What if I don't have the time? I totally get it. You're busy. You have a job, maybe a family, a whole life. You don't need marathon writing days, right? I know that I shared with you what I did in 2 weeks. And I'll be honest, that was kind of extraordinary because I was writing full time. And, I was writing books and that's what I did for a living. But if you don't write books for a living, that's okay. We're going to show you a plan so that you can create a natural rhythm that works, even if you only have about 30 minutes a day. Your book is still going to get done faster than you think. So the issue isn't time, it's structure, and that's exactly what I'm going to give you. What if I'm not a writer by trade? Perfectly fine. You do not have to be. You can become an author by intention. Remember what I said earlier. You don't have to write War and Peace. You don't have to write your magnum opus. You can write a book that just takes a concise idea or a concise area of your expertise, and you can even write a tiny book, right? If you can express an idea and follow a framework, you can write a great book. So inside this boot camp, I'm going to teach you how to write the way that you speak so that it's natural, clear, and engaging, and still polished. What if I don't have a big audience? Not a problem. You don't need one. My first bestseller did not come from having a big following. It actually came from clarity and positioning. The bootcamp is going to show you how to market smart, not loud. But what if I'm not ready to start right away? That's perfectly fine. Remember, you have lifetime access to the program, so it's there whenever you're ready to get started. It's entirely self-guided and self-paced, so no one's pressuring you to work on their timetable. I'm not putting any limits on when you have to watch this, when you have to implement this. You don't have to be ready to start right now. You just have to be ready to save $1,500. Listen, all of this comes down to 2 choices. You could either do it yourself, keep trying to piece together random YouTube videos, outdated blog posts. You can spend months or even years second guessing your outline, your editing, your publishing steps. You could be the person who ends up spending thousands of dollars on book services that don't actually teach you how to do it yourself. You could keep your message and your influence and your opportunities sitting on pause endlessly. Or you can make the choice to invest in yourself. You could follow a proven, repeatable system to write, publish, and market your book in 90 days or less. You can get clarity, confidence, and structure so that you always know your next step. And you could do this on repeat for multiple books, right? Not just the one that you initially do. You can learn from a multi-time best-selling author who's done it and can help you do it too. And you can finally hold your finished book in your hands, the one that builds your credibility and opens doors. My friend, every day you hold off on launching your book, your message, your influence, and your opportunities are sitting on pause. Let's change that. It's time. Click the button below to enroll inside the Book Launch Bootcamp. I can't wait to see you inside.